It's not easy. It's not easy. And I couldn't do it if I just didn't, passionately believe it was the right thing to do. I have so many opportunities from this country. I just don't want to see us fall backwards. So, this is very personal for me. It's not just political. It's not just public. I see what's happening, and we have to reverse it. And some people think elections are a game. They think it's like who's up or who's down. It's about our country. It's about our kids' futures. And it's really about all of us together. Some of us put ourselves out there and do this against some pretty difficult odds. And we do it, each one of us, because we care about our country. But some of us are right and some of us are wrong. Some of us are ready and some of us are not. Some of us know what we will do on day one, and some of us haven't really thought that through enough. And so when we look at the array of problems we have and the potential for it getting really spinning out of control, this is one of the most important elections America's ever faced. So, as tired as I am, and as difficult it is to kind of keep up what I try to do on the road, like occasionally exercise and try to eat right. It's tough when the easiest food is pizza. I just believe so strongly in who we are as a nation. So I'm going to do everything I can to make my case, and then the voters get to decide. Thank you all.
And that was Hillary Clinton getting all misty-eyed while talking to voters earlier today. So is this the softer side of Hillary or a strategic move by a candidate clearly on the downslide? Joining us now, former Clinton advisor Dick Morris. He's here to respond. And by the way, keep up to date on the presidential race. You can subscribe for free to Dick's columns and newsletters at dickmorris.com. By the way, you also have your Hillary, the movie. Dick has just put out. That's on the website?
That'll really make her cry.
Yeah. Oh, you're cold. Let me ask you, because we've been debating this all day. Do you think that was genuine, sincere? Is she or strategic, or is she crying for another reason that she's so far behind that she's losing?
More the third, but it's not phony like so much of what she does. I've seen that face before. She and I had a conversation immediately after, like the day or two after the Democrats lost Congress. And that was how she was. It was, Dick, I just don't know what's happening. Nothing I do seems to work. Everything I do comes out wrong. All of the ideas and thoughts I have don't work politically. What's happening? I'm bewildered is the phrase she used. And it was as close to a breakdown as I've ever seen Hillary have. And that is a breakdown.
You really, what do you mean by a breakdown? And people
by a breakdown, I mean that she just is letting her emotions fall out of her. She's bewildered.
Can't help it.
Can't help it. Bewildered, frustrated.
Yeah.
You have to understand the sense of arrogant entitlement that she brought into this race. The idea, I am ready. You've all been waiting for me, and now finally I'm ready. This is my office, my job. I lived here for 8 years, and I want it back, and I'm entitled to it.
The coronation
And when that sense of entitlement breaks down, the emotions just come flooding out of her.
The coronation is over, aura of inevitability certainly over. You wrote a column, There Will Be Blood. And the Clintons seem to have one pitch, to use a baseball analogy, high and tight and fast, and they always attack their opponents, smear, besmirch, character assassination. If they do this in the case of Barack Obama, a very likable man, this is not going to work. The playbook needs to be put aside here for them, and that's all they know.
Well, I've long since stopped writing plays for them, but my guess is that what they're going to do is they are going to play the race card, but they're going to do it in a very subtle way. There are a lot of Democrats, a huge number, who desperately want to win the White House, are not bigoted at all, not racist at all, but worry that a black can't get elected president, that America isn't, quote, ready for one. And the fact that he's won all of these primaries, well, those are primaries with liberals voting. When you get to mainstream America, Obama can't win, she'll say. And she'll say he's not electable, he's not ready to win, he's inexperienced. And what she's going to mean is he's black, and I'm white, and I can win and he can't.
Wow.
And it's going to be just like when Bill Clinton played the sister soldier card in 1992. Attacked her as a method of talking about race. The most famous example of somebody crying on the campaign trail was Muskie.
And Pat Schroeder.
And everybody felt that after Muskie cried, that he was not fit to be president. And I believe that there could well come a time when there is such a serious threat to the United States that she breaks down like that.
You had an interesting take on this side, and you did not think this was contrived. You think it's sincere. Explain your theory.
Hillary is a control freak. She really believes in controlling everything. She's like somebody who probably everybody knows somebody like this in their lives. They're firm and they're rigid and they do what they're supposed to do. They're disciplined. And then when it doesn't work, as opposed to bending, they break. And I saw her break once right after she lost Congress in '94, when she was sobbing over the phone to me and saying, I'm bewildered, nothing's working, my judgment's wrong, I just don't know what's happening, Dick, what should I do? And that's what you're seeing here with her. It's an out of control feeling by someone who has to be in control all the time.
John Edwards on the campaign trail today suggested basically the commanders-in-chief don't cry.
Yeah.
And you're describing...
Big presidents don't cry.
And I think there's perhaps a time and a place where it might be appropriate at a funeral, the soldiers, when they come home at some very deep, emotional ceremony. But in this instance, will people perceive that as weakness?
Yeah, I think they will, and I think they should. It's one thing to cry because you're at Oklahoma City and you're with the victims.
That's not what that was.
Yeah, that was Bill Clinton.
No, I'm talking about Mitt Romney.
It's the same thing to cry when you're recalling an emotional experience that you went through, that you were so happy about in your church. But it is quite another to cry out of self-pity and a feeling of loss of control. I can imagine a situation where the Congress doesn't pass her programs, or where Iran rejects her initiative, or the war isn't going well. And that same sense of I've tried to do it all right, and now all of a sudden it's screwing up and I don't know what to do about it, could incapacitate her as commander. And I think that what they're going to do is they're going to peddle the line that he can't be elected, that these were Democratic primary wins with liberal audiences, but when we get to mainstream America, he's unelectable.
Is that wrong or right?
It's wrong. And what that will mean is an African American can't win. And she's going to use that. There are many, many Democrats who are not racist, who would indeed like a black to win, but who don't feel the country is ready for it, and who are not about to sacrifice the White House trying.
If you keep saying the country's not ready for it, you're kind of creating something that may or may not be true.
It's a rotten...
You don't know the Clintons are going to do
It's a rotten, dirty, low strategy, but it's what they're going to do.
Dick, let me ask you about this. If Hillary Clinton loses tomorrow, Bob Shrum made the point. He said, after all, the candidates, if this happens, scapegoats will be found and exiled. Mark Penn, the pollster and strategist, foremost among them. After all, the candidates can't very well dispense of, for example, her husband, who was fully complicit in designing and driving her message. How much of a net negative has Bill Clinton been in all of this?
Well, first let's explain how the terrible message of experience came to dominate. Their mindset is run a negative campaign. So they looked at Obama's lack of experience and they said, okay, we'll be the opposite. And that made them make up all kinds of stuff about her experience that everybody saw was totally phony. But Bill Clinton basically doesn't have a lot of political common sense.
Right.
I made a nice living for 25 years off his lack of political common sense.
It's fascinating here when we really think about...
He's great one-on-one, but not strategic.
Barack Obama's not only expanded a huge lead here in New Hampshire, but also South Carolina. I mean, is it possible we're looking at the end of the Clinton era? Because I think you're right in describing he's got one pitch, high and inside, and it's politics a smear.
We're looking at more than just the end of the Clinton era. What we're looking at is the end of the baby boomer era in American politics. Just like John Kennedy ended the pre-war era. And Bill Clinton made a baby boomer presidency, and it's been baby boomer since. This is the beginning of the X generation presidency. Because an election that was to skew over race and gender now skews over age.
Hillary's commander-in-chief problem. It isn't that they can't see the solution. It is that they can't see the problem.